Good evening, fellows. Welcome back again into the meeting room. I hope you all fellows are doing well. So let's look at the market for the upcoming trade setup. So first trade setup is UK oil. UK oil going to be interesting in next week. Yeah, UK oil going to be interesting in coming week. Why UK oil going to be interesting, or you can say that US oil going to be interested? Because price tried to break down, we can see bounce back. This is a bounce back, fellows. If you are not aware about the bounce back at the trend line, this is called bounce back over the trend line. All right, this is called bounce back. Price is bouncing from the trend line. Yeah, so price was struggling over the trend line, was trying to break down, was managed to get back into the structure. So which structure, which formation? This pattern formation, yeah, this uptrend, this 29 uptrend, price still holding this uptrend. Yeah, price still holding this uptrend. So price managed to hold that trend from that area. All right, so price holding that continuation formation impulse, continuation formation to the upside. So we never violated that area. You fellows can see that impulse was there. We never violated that area. Price never closed beyond that impulsive area. So we are looking for continuation to the upside. All right. Okay. So how are we gonna trade? How are we gonna buy oil? The first buy setup gone. How are we gonna buy the next one? All right. So you can see price was forming impulse on lower time frame, and that was the entry point to catch the impulse, to catch the wave before it comes. All right, so impulse was there, continuation formation completed, broken out. You fellas can see that in next images, forming continuation formation, forming continuation formation. That was the breakout candle. This candle was telling us that it is going to continue, it is going to break out that continuation formation, and that is the confirmation. Yeah, so the buying place was this area. Within these ranges, the whole area was a buying place. Buying place. Yeah, so price managed to reverse somewhere. Let me look at the reversal retracement area. Which level price retraced? All right, so 50% of the impulse. Yeah, 50%. And then started to continue to the upside. So oil has a huge potential to the upside, but those who are not into this trade and looking to get into this trade, if you're gonna buy here, the whole area is retracement area. Price can retrace back into that area before going to continue. All right, so you may get stopped out. So how are you gonna trade on the oil? For best entry, that was the place. The place has gone for the best entry. Now you have to wait for the retracement. Yes, so you have to wait for the retracement. That trend is so strong. The uptrend is so strong. All right. So again, you have to wait for the retracement area somewhere here. Somewhere here again, somewhere here within these ranges. Yeah, so currently you can see impulse forming continuation to the downside. Yeah, it can break down this trend and can come up to within this area again. And if so, you're gonna get another chance to get into the long somewhere here within these ranges. The first one has gone. Yeah, so if price tests that area again, put your stop loss outside the impulse, then look for continuation to the upside. So you fellas can see that the daily close was a very strong candle, very strong bullish candle. You can see that very strong and bullish candle. This pin bar is telling us that on lower time frame, price is forming impulse, strong impulse. Yeah, If I test 50% of this impulse somewhere here, you have to look for upside this way. All right, that is the potential you are looking for. Putting your trade here, that is the potential. Potential is very much high over there. Even price can continue and can form new top. All right, it can form new top. It can come up to that area. The first target going to be here, and the second target going to be there. All right, so that is your potential you can see over there, and that is your risk over there. Correct. So what in case price breakdown, price do not continue? Let's talk about that. Yeah. If we buy here the 50% retracement here at that area, and we're gonna get stopped out. We're not gonna get the wave we are looking for to the upside. What will happen in that case? Price gonna get stopped out, gonna fall back, violate the trade setup. This is the trade setup or pattern formation. Based on that pattern formation or based on that trend, trade setup, we are looking for this trade setup for this much potential. Okay, so what will happen if we're not gonna get that wave and price gonna get stopped out? What we need to do in that case? If price continue to the downside, for example, come close to this trend lines and continue to the downside exactly like the previous one. Yeah, what we will do, we will not hold that trade if we're going to see this kind of scenario. All right, so first of all, once price going to test that trend line, we have to move on break even. Okay, we have to move on break even. If price start to test that trend line, if you get entry here, you have to move on break even. Okay, so in case you don't want to move and break even, you think that price is gonna break that area, not gonna struggle over there, gonna break that area, that's all right. And if price go beyond that trend line, start to fall, and gonna get stopped out. How we gonna deal that situation? We have to wait for another impulse at the bottom. Okay, we're not gonna buy again at this place. Once this area gonna violate, once price gonna violate that area, we not gonna look for buy. When we're gonna look for buy, we gonna look for buy once we're gonna see another impulse from the bottom at that area. Again, we're gonna buy from that area. We're not gonna hold that trade. Okay, if price stop down, not gonna continue stop out, we're not gonna hold that trade. Okay, we're gonna leave the market. We're gonna wait for the market to continue to the downside, and we'll watch another impulse. Okay, no reason to stay into the market if price violate that formation, that trade setup. No reason to stay into the market for upside. All right, so without stop loss. Okay, what will happen if you're gonna give the room? It can continue to the downside. Yeah, so for example, you are looking to lose $1,000 here at that area, and you are not taking off from the market and giving a lot of room to the downside. Somewhere here, you're gonna pay $3,000. $3,000 here. Yeah, so better to take off here at that area and watch for another impulse. So apply the same technique. If impulse comes, put stop loss behind the impulse, enter somewhere here. The way I have shown you in 15-minute time frame, that is your potential. Once you're gonna get that potential gonna give you 7-time profit, or at least 5-time profit to your account, to your trade, to your risk. This thing gonna double your account. Okay, and if you are going to give room here, you are going to give room, I mean to say, you thought that you want to lose $1,000 here, but once price start to reverse against you, then you thought that it can reverse back already extremely low and can rise back. Let's give much more room, like 3K at that area. This is disaster for the account. Yeah, how many times you're gonna do these things? How many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whenever you're gonna get lost, you are going down. So you have to keep in your mind this thing, yeah. What currently we can see, it is trade setup, yeah. If price violate the area, reason to buy over. There is no reason to buy once price close beyond this impulse. No buy sit up over there until we're going to see another impulse from the bottom. Okay, so keep in your mind, once trade setup still there, you can look for re-entry, but after leaving the market. Okay, don't give more room to your trades. All right, so that is the trade setup. If we close below the impulse, reason to buy going to be over there. We have to watch another impulse. Right, that is our impulse. That is the reason to get into the market. We are looking for continuation to the upside. So you have to keep in your mind, no more addings. If price is reversing against you, no more adding. Yeah, once price start to continue into your favor, what you need to do somewhere here at that area, what you need to do here within this area, what you need to look for within this area, fellows, what you what you need to look for at that area. Yeah, you need to look for another entry for continuation to the upside. Perfect. Okay, let me get back to the chart so that I can tell you. That was the previous setup, right? That was the previous setup. We were looking for this impulse. Some of you fellows sold here the way I have just explained, yeah? And there, and that was the wave. You can see the wave completed up to the bottom at the trend line. These are the further addings. You see continuation formation, you are selling here. Another continuation formation, you are selling here. Adding, adding. Yeah, so first setup was there at that area. Impulse, continuation formation, you sold here, you sold here, you sold here, and that is your target. You are taking that much profit. All right. So you have to do same things again. Once price start to move into your favor, then you need to look for continuation formations here at that area. Continuation formations. That's gonna give you another entry. Another continuation formation. That's gonna give you another entry. Yeah, so first entry was there, second was there, third was there. Every time when you see continuation formation, you can look for another entry to the upside. Yeah. So keep in your mind, use reasonable risk. Once price gonna come close to the reversal point, use reasonable risk. Don't double your risk over there somewhere close to the reversal point. Yeah, for example, you are holding 2% here and price is moving into your favor and you are looking for another 2% here. All right, and price forming continuation formation at the reversal point. There is no reason to put more 2% over here. No reason to put more risk over here. Yeah, price highly likely gonna hold that area and gonna get back. This is target area. This is not a continuation area. So we have to pay attention at that area rather than just getting into the market over there. Right, so that is the place where we have to look for continuation to the upside and we have to use risk over here rather than here, that area. Yeah, so that is the potential, fellows. You have to keep in your mind. Once price gonna hit the reversal point, no more addings over there for continuation to the upside. So oil, very much likely gonna rise in next week, highly potential. Trade setup is over there. US oil is quite similar like that, and USD CAD. All right, so USD CAD just showing us that it is forming top. It is forming top over there. Right, that is what I was anticipating. That is what I was anticipating when price was just rising to the top. Let me look at the USD CAD. All right, fellows, so you can see over there price was rising in last couple of days in straight candles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So in last 10 days, price was just rising in a single directions. Means that that was the uptrend. But what has happened over here at that area, that uptrend was losing momentum. That uptrend was losing momentum. And in a single candle, you fellas can see that bears erase all gains. Last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last 5 days gains gone over there. That means this was a corrective part, corrective area, corrective pattern formation, corrective trend reversal formations, which is telling us that price is going to reverse into another direction. So we need to look for impulse to the downside rather than continuation to the upside. Yes. So impulse is very much strong over there. You fellas can see that. We have seen previously impulses over there. All right, we have seen impulses over there. So that is the top. That is the top, quite similar like the previous one. That is the wave. That is the wave we are looking for up to that area. All right, so some of you fellows managed to sell at the top, exactly at the top. You did well. All right, but those who are not into this trade, how are you gonna look for trade over there? I'll talk about that. Okay, so same rule, fellows, you're gonna apply over there. The rule I have just spoken about that on oil. All right, so we have seen impulse. Impulse is so strong. You're right. So some of you fellows managed to sell on lower time frame here at that area. Yes, some of you fellows managed to sell here. Some of fellows managed to sell here. Some of you sold here. You're right. Some of you sold here on continuation formation. Yeah, so we can see impulse is very much strong. How are we gonna trade on this? Those who are not into this trade, we have to watch continuation formation, quite similar like the previous one when price was forming impulse here at that area. You can see impulses over there. That is the continuation formation is required at least on 1 hour time frame. Yeah, and if this trend is so sharp, and when we're gonna look at the lower time frame, once market gonna open, and we're gonna look at the lower time frame, I mean to say, if price is not going to form a tracement up to that area close to the 50% of the impulse, then how you need to look for, you need to look for the lower time frame like 15-minute or 5-minute charts, yeah, for understanding the momentum of the price. Yeah, if price momentum gonna stay over there, you're gonna see continuation formation on 1 hour time frame. Price keep falling, small continuation correction, falling, small continuation formation, falling. All right, so if price gonna keep falling without bigger correction, like 1 hour correction keep falling, then it means the potential is getting smaller over there, smaller over there, smaller means if price keep falling and you're gonna sell somewhere here, you're not gonna use stop loss there. You're gonna use stop loss somewhere here within these ranges. Yeah. So the whole area is retracement area for that impulse. Yeah, it can retrace up to that area and can stop you out. So you have to keep in your mind. Right. So for best and perfect entry is there close to the 50% retracement of the impulse. Why that is perfect entry? The reason is we have impulse over there, yeah? If price violate that impulse, so potential is up to the 32 area. So this area, price started to rise from that area. That is our target. Of course, we're gonna add more. Once price gonna start to continue, we will look for continuation formations to the downside. Okay, why I was looking for pullback up to that area, because this trade setup gonna be perfect trade setup, if price to trace up to that area, and is selling from current price like that, gonna give us not a good risk reward ratio as we compare with the previous one, but it's okay. Yeah, so big risk means you are selling here and putting stop loss behind that pattern formation or that impulse. Yeah, so stop loss is saved here. Within these ranges, stop loss is not going to save. Yeah, so this trade setup is not for short term, fellows, not for tomorrow, day after tomorrow, or something like that. Yeah, so this trade setup is for a couple of days, for next couple of days. All right, so which means that you have to stay into the market, so your stop loss is going to be over there where it is safe. Yeah, so stop loss going to be saved here behind that impulse. You have to put stop loss just behind the impulse so that you can you're not gonna get frustrated about your trade. That is the trade setup, quite similar like the US oil. That is the trade setup. Okay, those who are already in, lots of potential over there, fellows. Don't worry about that. We were looking for this impulse since very long, and finally we got that impulse. Let me show you first where we were looking for that impulse. Yeah, so in next couple of days we only gonna see movements on CAD pairs. So CAD pairs gonna be the interesting pairs for next couple of days. Yeah, so highly likely you're gonna see dollar gonna lose the value in next coming days. Dollar and euro gonna get stronger. Yeah, so that was the whole formation, whole corrective formation. The formation I have just shown you on daily time frame, bigger candles. This formation is just telling us that price is reversing to another direction. Yeah, so we have seen impulse and the whole previous uptrend violated. This previous uptrend, corrective uptrend, violated with that impulse. Let me show you that uptrend. Yeah, price violated that uptrend. You can see clear violation is over there. So continuation formation, put your risk over there. That is the potential area. Continuation formation, add more trade setup over there. Okay, so USD CAD. So what formation is this, fellows? What formation is this? What formation is this? What formation is this? Yeah, this is continuation formation. And we are looking for this kind of formation exactly at this area on 1 hour time frame. This is the bigger formation. Like you can say that like weekly formation, weekly trend continuation formation to the downside. Yeah, this formation impulse, and TCP. Yeah, prices forming TCP for the downside. Like what? Like the previous formations. You fellows can see that clearly. Yeah, flag, flag, another flag. Price is going to continue. Flag, another flag, another flag. Yeah, another flag over there. All right. So we have another continuation formation to the downside. All right, so we have that formation before as well on New Zealand dollar pairs. Let me show you first so that you fellows can remember. That was the New Zealand dollar formations. Yeah, so that was the bigger formation, but you can't see that on this time frame. This is the 4 hour time frame, but price was there at the top. Monthly continuation formation, and price was testing that top. Similar the USD CAD is doing, and price started to fall after that. Yeah, continuation formation. So we started to sell this pair when it was close to the 75 area, that top. All right, I'll show you New Zealand dollar. monthly time frame, that was the continuation formation to the downside, quite similar like the USD CAD, right? So we started to sell here at that area to the downside, 75. I have shown you 75 over there on 4-hour time frame, yeah? So that formation is a continuation formation of USD CAD, fellows. So big wave is there. That is the chart which I posted over there. Yeah, big continuation formation was there. Yeah, so we are heading into that wave. Right, so this formation is quite similar like that formation. This is the trade setup. Big trade setup. Big trade setup. All right, so let's talk about if price close above the impulse, violate the impulse. The impulse we are relying, the trade setup we are relying. What will happen? What will happen? We only gonna lose this much. Yeah, we're only gonna lose this much. What will happen? We only gonna lose this much. Then what we will do again, we gonna look for another impulse from the top. We not gonna look for upside, we gonna look for another impulse from the top. Yeah, we're gonna look for re-entry. Yeah, exactly. Remember the catchy. We're gonna look for another entry from the top. Don't worry. If it is correcting, don't worry. The direction of the market is this. This is not the direction. Yeah. In coming days, this pair has to come into this area. Yeah, this area. This is the trading zone. This is the trading area. That is not trading area. That is the trading area. So what we will do, we will watch another impulse. We will apply the same continuation formation. That is our potential, right? Okay. How many times we're gonna fail over there? 1, 2, 3. All right. But once we're gonna get 7, 1 to 7 risk reward ratio, we're gonna be up with 4. Yeah. We're gonna be up with 4. We only lost 3 times. We're gonna get 4 time profit into our account, right? So consider this. Don't consider this much potential. All right, consider that much potential. That is which is important to grow account. All right, so those who are holding, don't take off from the market. I mean to say, don't look for small profit, look for big profit. Any question on this pair, fellows? That is my main pair. I'm focusing on this pair for the next couple of days. All right, any question? Anyone confused about that pair? Okay. All right, so if it will keep rising correctly to the upside, no need to worry about that. No need to worry about that. It can rise. All right, it can rise. It can come up to that area. All right, that area. Don't worry about that. We had impulse over there, very strong impulse. But the whole area is retracement area. This whole zone is a retracement area. So what we are doing over here within this area, we are watching price action, strong price action. That strong price action gonna tell us that which way market gonna go. Either it is gonna go upside or gonna go to the downside. Right? That is the prediction. That is how you need to read the market, how you need to analyze the market. Yeah, so we can see bears are coming. They are telling us that this is the direction. So we have to go into that direction for good profit. Good luck, fellows. All right, so let's talk about the dollar index first, and Euro USD and USD Chief. Then we'll get back to the trade setup, other pairs trade setup. All right. So what price is doing? Price is testing this weekly trend line, fellows, on dollar index. All right, this weekly trend line. All right, so before that we were trading within this continuation formation. Yeah. So how are we gonna trade on this pair now? Yeah, in next weeks. Last week you fellows managed to get a couple of trades within this continuation formation on lower time frame. Yeah, some of you fellows took good profit in sideways market on lower time frame, but we can see it is breaking. Yeah, this trend continuation formation is breaking. All right, this trend continuation formation is breaking. Price is breaking that trend continuation formation. All right, impulse is coming over there. All right, so last week we were looking for aggressive impulsive breakout to the upside. We never got that breakout. What we got breakdown. All right, we got breakdown. Okay, so prices changing this formation, fellows. This pattern formation is being changed by the price. All right, so still upside is possible, but how we're gonna look for upside? We only gonna look for upside once we will see strong impulse to the upside, and that impulse has to break out that bearish trend to the upside, like that uptrend. Price never violated the uptrend aggressively, only correctively. Price tested the top, started to fall, started to fall, started to fall. All right, that impulse is going to give us that it is going to continue to the upside, but currently we can see that it is going to continue to the downside. So what we can anticipate, that price is going to break the weekly trend line, the trend line I was showing you over there. Yeah, this trend line is very much possible. No trade on this impulse. Okay, no trade on this impulse. If I start to break out aggressively, no trade on this impulse. When we're gonna trade, once price gonna start to form a continuation formation similar like the previous one. Right, that formation gonna confirm it is going to continue to the downside. If we're gonna start to sell based on that impulse, it can bounce back aggressively. All right, so keep in your mind it can bounce back aggressively, so you have to keep in your mind it can reverse back aggressively. So only continuation formation like the previous one gonna give us an idea that it is going to continue to the downside. Yeah, so up to which level dollar index can test? It can test the weekly bottom again if we break down the weekly trend line. Yeah, this area, it can come up to that area if we break down that trend line. We have to watch up to that area if we break the trend line. All right, so we're not going to look for continuation to the upside based on that trend continuation pattern. Why? Because that trend continuation pattern is changing the formation, so no reason to look for into that direction. Once price break down, no reason to look for upside. So reason to look for upside is going to change. Formation is going to change. Okay, so that is the major difference is just coming over there on dollar index and Euro USD. All right, so let me show you clear image on Euro USD. This is showing some gap and not showing clear formations. All right, so let's look at the weekly first. All right, so it can test this top again. All right, if dollar index start to fall, start to come at the bottom, it can test the top. All right, if you fellows remember that last week we were talking about this area, yeah, for upside price has to break that area, that top, and likely price is going to break up. This impulse is so strong. All right, this impulse is so strong, so that is the formation is going to form. Price is not going to get down. We are already completed the 50% way within this formation, within this pattern. Yeah, so retracement has completed within this formation. So highly likely price gonna get that area. Yeah, 114. So how we're gonna trade for the upside? Let's talk about that. All right. So this trend line, the trend line I have shown you on dollar index. So this is quite similar like that. Yeah, it is breaking. Continuation formation, quite similar like the previous one. Then that is the trade. Yeah, that is the trade. Any trade without watching this information Gonna be unreasonable. Why gonna be unreasonable? Because price can fall back again to the bottom aggressively. So you have to be careful once you are looking to buy to the upside. Let's look at the lower time frame. Yeah, so currently we are testing the channel top, this channel top, right? This channel top, right? So you have to pay attention. Highly likely price gonna break up. We'll see that once price market gonna open, we will see that what's going on over there. So highly likely price gonna break up. If so, let it go. Watch continuation formation, then the trade setup. This continuation formation gonna confirm that this channel, the channel we were trading since very long, for the downside and upside, that channel is going to change. That formation, this formation, fellows. Yeah, so we were trading, we sold here, we bought here, we sold here, we bought here. This formation is going to change. All right, this formation is going to change once price gonna break up. No reason to look for this wave. Yeah, no reason to look for this wave. It is going to get back to the top again. We need a continuation formation and then upside. Okay, for this much potential. All right, so no reason to look for sell at that area, fellows. Okay, let's look at the lower time frame. You can see some continuation formation was there, this flag. Yeah, price is just breaking. You need another formation over there on your lower time frame, on 1 hour time frame. If you're gonna see that, put your stop somewhere here or somewhere here behind that flag and ride that trade up to that trend line. All right, so let's see what we're gonna see from the market once market gonna open. Yeah, if price not gonna continue to the upside, then what we need, fellows, from the current price, what we need to watch, at the area. If price not gonna continue, for example, not gonna give us impulse, so what we need to watch, which pattern formation we are in at the moment, what pattern we have currently, what pattern we have currently, what do you see at the moment, what formation is this? Yeah, this is channel, reversal channel formation. Yeah, all right, this is reversal channel formations. Okay, so what we need here at the area, if price not gonna continue the upside, we need an impulse at that area, strong impulse. Yeah, strong impulse like what? Like USD CAD. All right, we need an impulse like USD CAD. If price is not going to rise, we need an impulse like this. Yeah, that was the channel formation. We have seen impulse. All right, and that is the trade. That is the trade. Okay, similar like that. If it is not going to continue, give us a surprise to the downside like that, then we're gonna look for downside. Right, so that is the price action area. Price action area. Yeah, we are currently watching price action. So let's see what we're gonna get. USD CAD is quite similar like this, but not much clear like the Euro USD and like the dollar index. All right, so it can break the trend line, this trend line. You can break further to this trend line. So we'll see that further room to the downside is possible. So I'm currently not looking for trades set up on this pair as compared to the Euro USD and dollar index. Yeah, so we'll see the price action on Euro USD. Euro USD and dollar index gonna give us the direction of this pair, which way this pair is going to go. So currently we are focused on those pairs. Okay, so catchy. Yeah. So as long as price gonna stay within the channel, short-term selling is there, and once price is going to break up, We are looking for upside. Yeah, so the trade currently we are looking for is this trade. What trade is this? Impulse, continuation, impulse, continuation. Yeah, this is the trade we are looking for. This trade. Yeah, this trade. Impulse, continuation, impulse. We are looking for this continuation to the downside. All right. So we are experiencing a reversal formation on lower time frame. Like, yeah, so this formation is much sharper than the previous one. So the previous formation was corrective, but this formation is sharp than the previous one. But we can see it is just going to break out. It is breaking strongly, but you'll see that either it is going to continue or not. Yes, let me show you first what channel formation is there. As long as price can stay within the channel formation, your trade setup gonna be bearish to the downside for short term, not for longer term. Yeah, that is your trade setup. All right, as long as price can stay within this channel, that is your trade setup. All right, that is your trade setup. All right, that is your trade setup. That is your trade. 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 Yeah, so currently we can see price is just rising aggressively. Let's wait for the price to make it clear that it is going to leave. Yeah, and if you are able to get into the market based on that impulse, perfect, get in. And if you think that it is not going to continue, I mean to say you are just confused about the market that it is not going to continue, then better to wait for the continuation formation. Yeah, for this upside wave, up to that trend line. That is the trade setup we are looking for. Highly likely we're going to get that trade setup. All right, so every time when price is just getting down, it is extending the ranges of what? Of this formation. Yes, this formation, this channel formation. All right, so we're gonna look for reversal to the upside, short term bearish, and longer term reversal to the upside. Yeah, so you can see it is aggressive slightly aggressive. Yeah, okay, so if oil start to rise, USD CAD start to fall, what we gonna anticipate here, fellows? What we should anticipate here if oil start to rise? If oil start to rise, yeah, we should anticipate up. Let's look at the oil first. All right, let's look at the oil first. Oil. All right, here is the oil. Here is the USD CAD. Here is the CAD chip. All right, so when oil was here at the area, we were anticipating that wave, and USD CAD that wave, and then CAD chief that wave. All right, so we are anticipating on oil gonna come up to that area. Highly likely oil gonna rise up to that area. Yeah, so we're gonna get that wave. We're gonna get that wave. All right. Okay, so small pullback on CAD chief is possible because it is not going to leave the reversal formation at the moment, still within the formation. Yeah, this formation still there. You can see struggling, still struggling. All right, so it can do like that and can do like that, and that is your trade. Okay, right, if you can read that this impulse is so strong and you want to get into the market, just get into the market. All right. Okay, so you have to keep in your mind this formation as well. It can extend the ranges. If oil start to, yeah, so it seems to me that at the same time, yeah, Yeah, same. You can analyze by yourself, mate. I have told you the technique. You can do your own homework. All right, so it can extend the ranges. If we start to get back, we may see this wave. So you have to be prepared for that if you are looking to buy here. All right, keep in your mind impulse. Keep in your mind this may happen. This may happen. This may happen. All right, we were looking for impulse from that area. So pattern can keep coming to downside. CAD shift. EuroCAD is quite similar like that, but I'm not interested to put a trade on this pair at the moment until I see some signs from the market. Yeah, if CAD chief is start to rise, of course this pair gonna do the same. So what structure we have? Some of you fellows were trying to draw this structure. That is the structure, fellows. You have to work on your structure and pattern identification. That is the structure. Price is forming this formation. Yeah, so that was the last place where price start to fall, and that is the bottom where price is just rising to the upside. Yeah, this formation. You can see over there why this formation is more reliable than any other formation. Why this formation is more reliable than any other formation, fellows? Why these patterns are more reliable than any other formations which you have drawn on your chart? No, it's not because of the time frame. It's just because of the pattern formation. You can see impulses over there. That is the impulse. That is the continuation formation. That is the impulse. That is the continuation formation. What you can anticipate when price was here at the area. You can anticipate another impulse to the upside. Yeah. So that is the continuation formation. That is the continuation formation to the upside based on these impulses. Yeah. So you clearly can see that quite similar like this one impulse continuation formation, another impulse to the upside and continuation formation impulse, and this is the continuation formation for upside, not to the downside. Okay, so currently price is just rising aggressively. We are within these ranges. Yeah, within these ranges. We are within these ranges. All right, so for upside we have to watch a bigger continuation formation. So I'm less likely going to be interested on this pair. We'll see the formations, what we're going to see over there on this pair in the next week. So although this pair is quite similar like the CAD chief, okay, it can fall back. Forming same formation, it can fall back like aggressively, continuation formation, and to the downside. All right, but we'll see that. We'll see that. But we are more interested in the CAD chief rather than the EuroCAD. USD CAD. Last week we were looking for the top at that area. Yeah, so if you fellows remember that last week we were looking for top. We were looking for sell at the top, and some of you fellows sold at the top, and now you fellows are in profit. Yeah, you fellows are making profit at the moment. All right. So what will happen if you're gonna close your trade somewhere here? You're gonna miss this much potential or even this much potential. All right. So this trade is a bigger weekly trade. If you want to take off and you want to enter again on continuation formation, that's good. It's up to you. You can watch for the continuation formation, get back into the market again, and keep selling on continuation formations. Keep selling on continuation formations. Take off, selling, take off, selling. Yeah, so potential is big there to the downside. So we haven't seen anything at the previous high at that area. Yeah, we were anticipating some price action, so price violated that area. That is the place we were looking for after this breakout price action. So strong impulses over there, fellows. So what we can anticipate on current price here at that area? Any guess here at that area? What we can anticipate here? What we need to look for? Yeah, for other trade setup, we have to wait and watch for another confirmation, for another continuation formation. What market is going to do? Either it is going to form a continuation formation or not. If it is not going to form a continuation formations, there is no trade setup. Okay, if you fellows remember that, how many of you sold on this continuation formation? Do you remember how many of you sold on this continuation formation? Anyone remember that? Yeah, that is the impulse. That is the continuation formation. That is another continuation formation. Yeah, so you fellows sold over there on that continuation formation. Yeah, so that is the trade setup. That is the trade setup. So we have to watch another formation for this trade. Okay, for this trade. So the trade setup was there, gone, based on impulse, gone, based on impulse, gone. We need a continuation formation over there to the downside. Yeah, so it can form much bigger continuation formation, fellows. Be prepared for that. If so, no worry, we're gonna give enough time to that formation. You can see it can do something like that, this formation. All right, so the previous impulse, continuation formation, and price started to fall off for that. Okay, so the next trade setup gonna be over there, and that trade setup gonna be highly potential trade setup. Yeah, so potential trade setup. Currently we can see it is not forming flag. Yeah, so it can further push to the downside and then can start to form continuation formation like flat channel. If we're gonna see this formation, we're always gonna be seller over there at that area, right, for continuation to the downside. Good luck, fellows. All right, so that is the next pair. Then this pair is quite similar like the USD CAD, but currently we don't have any pattern formation over there on this pair. I mean to say either to the downside or to the upside. If price is going to continue to the downside, it has to form a continuation formation for the previous low. So what we are waiting for on this pair, we are waiting for an impulse. I have spoken about that before as well. We can see it is corrective continuation formation. Yeah, corrective. Similar like USD CAD. That impulse we are looking for. That impulse we are looking for. Yeah, we never seen any price section over the trend line. Let me show you which trend line for the upside, and we didn't trade on this pair. You can see we haven't seen any price section to the upside on that area for this formation. Price clearly broken down. All right, so it is going to continue. At least it must form this formation here at the area for continuation to the downside. So it is just going to happen very soon. We're gonna see that impulse. Just keep eyes on this. Once you're gonna see the impulse, start to buy. Start to buy. Pay attention at the previous low. If price stopped here, I'm gonna give you some indication at that area at this price. Pay some attention at that area. Right, so impulse is there to the downside. Euro yen. All right, so last week was there was a short-term trade setup. For the upside, that trade setup over. Okay, so you can see it is very much strong, fellows. Going to break this structure as well now, this channel formation. All right, so how are we gonna trade on this? The way I have spoken about last week, the formation is quite similar like that, right? We are watching that area, watching, no trade, no selling, no buying at that area. This area is just for watching at the moment. That short-term up trade setup is over. Continuation formation, that short-term up trade setup is over. We can see corrective formations, and we are waiting for price at that area. What kind of formation we're going to see over there? Either we're going to see breakup, or we're going to see some impulsive rejection from that top back into the corrective structure, this corrective structure, yeah. So price can form something like this shoulder and can continue. All right, so you have to keep in your mind. So we are looking for this trade and see that what kind of price action we're going to see. All right, so if it is buy setup, if price is just going to break out, at least we need a continuation formation for upside, right? This upside continuation formation required before any buy for this up trade. So currently we are watching at that area. What we're going to see here, either we're going to see reversal, impulse, and back into this structure. If so, we all gonna be seller here, like that one. All right, like this one. Right, if we're gonna see this kind of price action, we will start to sell. Currently we are not. Reason, it is bullish. It is bullish. Okay, so it is strong bullish to the upside, fellows. Yeah, reversal formation is there on lower time frame, but that reversal formation is not a healthy. Healthy means not strong. This whole formation is a reversal, or you can say that losing upside momentum. Yeah, we'll see that how market gonna open on this pair. And USD chief is quite similar like that. All right, so breaking this structure, the bigger downtrend, clearly violating the bigger downtrend. This downtrend. All right, this downtrend, continuation formation, violating that. We are paying attention at that, the previous top. Why we are paying attention at the previous top? Anyone has idea why we are paying attention at the previous top, fellows? Why we are paying attention at the previous top? That area. Anyone has idea why we are paying attention at that area? We are paying attention, yeah, change informations. Change information. We are paying attention for change informations. Like how? How the first formation was this. You can see over there this formation impulse. So ideally price should continue based on that continuation formation, but price didn't continue. And next time price test that top, did not continue, started to fall, forming continuation to the downside. We all traded on this continuation formation. Continuation formation not going to continue to the downside. Yes, started to fall. So we were anticipating that up wave. What we should anticipate here at that area? We should anticipate this continuation formation gonna change its formation, like this formation, yeah. Impulse, continuation formation. We are anticipating that this continuation formation gonna change at that area, not gonna continue. This impulse not gonna continue. That is the reason we are paying attention over there, yeah. So quite similar like that euro yen. So the trade setup on this pair is not ready to do to put into any direction, not on lower time frame, not on daily time frame. And similar here, okay, pound yen. We are paying attention at the previous top for change in formation of this continuation formation. Ideally, price should continue, should extend this impulse to the upside. Alright, so ideally price should continue. This impulse should extend up to that area or even beyond that. But what we are doing, we are paying attention at that area. Price every time when price is just coming close to that area, we are anticipating that this formation, this continuation formation, gonna change back into the corrective structure or gonna back into the previous trend, not gonna continue. Yeah, so we are more interested into this. For that, we are looking for continued reversal formation on lower time frames. Yeah, you guys can see that the formation is quite similar formation like the euro yen. Yeah, so that is the impulse we need to look for this downside. If price not gonna give us that impulse and just keep rising, keep rising. So short term buy setup over there. Yeah, short term buy setup over there. Always short term buy setup gonna be over there on lower time frame. Yeah, so still we have room over there. How are you gonna buy for? That is the question. How are you gonna buy for short term? Price is just going to continue. How are you gonna buy? You have to identify the formation. Yeah, this formation. You fellas can see that it is running within these ranges. Yeah, every time when price is just coming close to the trend line here, then you need to look for upside. This trade. This is short-term trade. So what you are doing, you are buying within the trend for short-term to the upside. Yeah. So this short-term uptrend only gonna change the formation once price gonna form impulse. Yeah. Every time, yeah, it's risky. Every time when price is going to turn a trend into another direction, you're gonna see the impulse. You're gonna see the impulse. You have to figure out that impulse before the market turn around. Yeah. So whenever price was coming close to the bottom, the formation was a reversal. Coming close to the bottom, anticipating impulse. Anticipating impulse. Yeah. So longer term direction of the market is going to change. But short term trade setup was this. Yeah, this is the short-term trade setup. Okay, so short-term selling, short-term selling, short-term sellings, short-term sellings, short-term sellings, short-term sellings. All right, but the direction of the market is going to go into that way. This bigger formation was telling us. So every time when price hit the bottom, take off for short-term, watch impulse for upside. You can see impulse is just coming over there from that bottom. Yeah, so that's how you need to figure it out before it comes. Whenever it comes close to the bottom, you have to figure it out that it is going to turn the direction of the market. So quite similar like this one, you have to watch that channel. As long as price is going to stay within that channel, short term buying, short term buying, short term buying, always there. Short term buying, always there. Yeah, so continuation formation, that is the trade. Continuation formation, that is the trade. Yeah, so this whole is a continuation formation, that is the trade. Right, so if price tests this bottom again correctively, that is your trade for short term upside. And if impulse comes, impulse here, you can read that impulse. Yeah, all right, so that is the direction of the market. I'm gonna start to sell, so we still have room to the upside. Keep in your mind, fellows, how to figure out this. So CAD yen forming continuation formation to the downside. New Zealand dollar and CAD yen. Let me open all these three pairs at the same time. And Aussie dollar, Aussie yen. Okay, so we are having continuation formation. So we are close to zero line on these pairs. On these three pairs, we are close to zero line. Right. So this trade, and probably we're gonna get this trade. Yeah, highly likely we're gonna get this trade, but not interested on this trade. Yeah, currently not ready. This pair is not ready. This pair is not ready. This pair is also not ready at the moment. So I'm not seller on CAD pairs. I'm not seller on CAD pairs. All right. So formations, why we are looking for continuation to the downside? The reason is we are close to zero. This is continuation formation, much bigger than the previous ones. Continuation formation, much bigger than the previous one, this one. Continuation formation, much bigger than the previous formations. All right, so rather than looking for reversal, price must rise from the bottom to the upside aggressively, not correctively. Let me look at the New Zealand dollar. You're gonna get the idea. Okay, so for upside for this trend, once price broken that trend, Price should rise aggressively. Yeah, it is rising correctively. Yeah, so we are at zero line here at the area. Zero line means that we have to pay attention. If I stopped here, we should look for downside. Yeah, so last week some profit was there on this pair. This much profit was there. Yeah, we're gonna pay attention at that area. It is not ready at the moment. Pay attention at the area for sure. If I start to fall aggressively, then the trade set down. Yeah, so CAD yen is quite similar like that. Not interested on this pair. And once this pair gonna form that wave, gonna complete that wave, I'm seller here at that area for this trade. Okay, like this wave, I'll seller at that area. For upside, I'm not interested. Although it is possible, but I'm not interested. Alright, so upside is very much possible over there. Yeah, this upside price can keep rising up to that trend line like the previous one. Alright, so continuation formation, it can come to the top again. I'll see the top. I'll be interested. Why I'll see the top? Because we are close to zero line on these two pairs. Alright, so if one more up move comes and price start to struggle, we are close to zero line. So rather than this trade, we should look for continuation to the downside. We will look for continuation to the downside. Pound New Zealand dollar and New Zealand dollar. I'll explain to you fellows New Zealand dollar in detail. Alright. So we are looking for this trade on New Zealand dollar. Right. But before that, we have to pay attention at that area. And we are looking for this trade on New Zealand, pound New Zealand. Alright, so let me look at the pound New Zealand first. Okay, so currently we are close to zero line on bigger time frame. At this pair, we are anticipating that price gonna form this pattern formation. We have spoken about that before in last week. We are looking for continuation to the downside, now reversal to the upside. Let's look at the daily. Daily is forming this channel. 4 hour is forming this channel. Yeah, this channel. So this formation is possible. This formation is possible. Okay, this formation is possible. So if so, we have to pay attention at that area. If price start keep rising correctively. So some of you fellas sold here. If price fall, that's your trade profit area. Then we're gonna look for upside, one more up move on this pair. If price start to fall correctively. All right. So at the same time, we're gonna look for a continuation to the downside, one more move down on New Zealand dollar. Yeah, if price start to struggle. All right, if price is not gonna continue, not gonna come up to that trend line. Once it's gonna come close to that trend line, we will look for this downside trade. Yeah, this downside trade. But currently, we have to pay attention at that area for this formation. Yeah, if we're gonna see this formation here, we're gonna see the same formation on pound New Zealand dollar. So pound New Zealand dollar gonna be buy over there. This we're gonna be sell over here in this formation. Yeah, if price not gonna respect that area, keep rising. That's perfect. We're gonna pay attention at that area. We were buying here. We were buying this pair from the bottom. Yeah, we were buying this pair from here at that area. Based on this continuation formation, impulse. Yeah, so it is rising, doing well. So we have to pay attention for exit at that area. If we're gonna see prices struggling, not going to continue, going to stop here, we're gonna pay attention over there. So we're gonna watch for the flat channel formation, this formation. All right, at this place. If I stop here, we're gonna watch this formation, this continuation formation to the downside, this formation for next impulse to the downside. All right, like this. 27 over 618, like this way. Okay, why are we gonna look for that impulse? Because this is the impulse over there. This is the impulse over there. This is the impulse over there. Yeah, so we're gonna look for another impulse continuation to the downside. We're gonna see continuation formation over there. All right, so currently price somewhere here gonna close to zero line. Here gonna close to zero line. We have to pay attention at that area for continuation formation. All right, so pound USD, pay attention at that area, fellows. We are forming another channel at the top, a reversal channel. All right, so we have to pay attention at the area. Currently it is bullish, be careful. Short-term trades that are going to be over there. You have to pay attention at that channel, that top. Don't sell early, it is rising aggressively. So some of you fellows sold here on lower time frame on that day for short term. Yeah, so pay attention at that area. Impulse, continuation impulse, continuation impulse. If price gonna form another continuation, then one more up move over there. Yeah, so we are having this reversal formation. If price break up, only gonna extend the ranges. Pound, Aussie dollar, there are two possibilities. Price is running within that channel, running within that channel. This is the bigger structure, right? We are looking for this way from the top. For that we need an impulse, and if we're not gonna see the impulse, we're gonna apply the same rule. Like what? Like pound yen. All right, so that was the last idea. Impulse, price is testing that top. All right, if you're gonna see continuation, another up wave. If you're gonna see impulse, we will start to sell. All right, so you can see that up wave completed. This is the first possibility. If impulse, we will start to sell here at that area. All right, so currently we don't see any impulse. We just see continuation formation. Yeah, if we're gonna see again the same formation like the previous ones, one more up move. Trend continuation pattern. That is the trend continuation pattern. We call the TCP is a trend continuation pattern. That impulse, we're going to look for another entry. Yeah, this is the trade we're going to look for again. Any impulse from the top going to give us the big wave to the downside. Any other pairs, fellows? Aussie USD, yeah. Aussie USD played well last week. For this, we need a continuation, yeah. Yeah, you can see that played well. We have seen reversal formation here at that area. Broken up, but broken up correctively. You have to keep in mind, broken up correctively. That is not a strong break. That is not a strong break. You have to be careful. You can see that is not a strong break. It can test the bottom again. Those who are looking to buy, you have to be careful, fellows. All right. Yeah, so this is corrective up wave. So highly likely price gonna test the upper channel line again, and if price gonna test the upper channel line again, we all be seller again once more time at that area. We all gonna be seller for this trade. Yeah, if price start to rise aggressively, which is not at the moment, we will start to buy up to that area. Right. So USD USD is simple. Yeah, so this pair is going. We were anticipating continuation to the upside. Yeah, so UK 100 index is just going to the upside, following the arrows. Yeah, it is going. Broken early, going. No trade setup on this anymore. The trade setup has gone. Alright, so Uzi New Zealand dollar. Some of you fellows sold from the top. Perfect job. You fellows did a perfect job. Where was the sell setup? I have shown you in last week. Where was the sell setup, fellows? Anyone remember that? No one remember that. That was the place where we were talking about last week. Yeah, if price test that top, look for sell at that area. And impulse and continuation formation. The next sell setup we were looking for here. Yeah, we were looking for continuation formation at that area, but price never test that top again and started to fall before that. All right, go back to the previous meeting and watch that where we were looking for sell setup in last week. Yeah, so price broken down. That was the continuation formation. We were looking for another entry here at that area for the downside. Yeah, so currently, fellows, it is hitting the trend line. More downside is possible on this pair. We can see it is falling aggressively. Yeah, falling aggressively. So we need a clear breakdown for downside, or we need a continuation formation at the trend line. Any bounce back, take off the trade you sold over there. Look for exit. So potential still there. We're gonna look for a continuation formation again on this pair. New Zealand dollar, yeah, spoken that. New Zealand chief breaking the descending channel. Last week we were anticipating that channel gonna break out. That channel breaking out. So currently it is not ready to do anything. Not in any formation at the moment. Euro chief. The Euro chief is highly likely gonna continue to the upside, but we'll see that. Yeah, highly likely going to continue to the upside. Impulse, continuation formation, impulse, continuation formation, impulse, continuation formation, impulse. Not going to continue. Impulse, continuation formation. So we were seller here, we were buy here, bought here. Alright, so price was dying here, and continuation formation broken up, forming another continuation formation. So highly likely we're going to test that top again. So that is the trade. So that we're going to focus that trade. That flag broken. That bigger flag gonna broken to the upside. Yeah, that is the impulse continuation. Highly likely price gonna test that area again. We'll see at that area. So currently we have room up to that top again. So we will start to look for upside on this pair. Continuation formation is there. You fellows can see that. Where you need to look for buy, you need to look for buy here. Impulse, continuation formation, here at the area for upside. That is the stop loss and the continuation to the upside. So we broken the previous trend. This previous trend is broken down. All right, so any other pair, fellows? I think enough for it today. We have to stop here. We are more than 1 hour. We are above 1 hour. Any question? Yeah, gold is not ready to do anything. Gold is just falling. Gold is just falling, broken down. Gold is broken down. Where is the gold? Let me look at the gold. Here is the gold. All right, so there was a trade setup. There was a trade setup at there. So we need a continuation formation for further downside. If continuation formation comes over there, then gonna be trade. Then we're gonna put trade on there on gold. So that was the continuation formation. I thought I should share that formation when it was forming. Unfortunately, I didn't share that formation with you. Okay, so another continuation formation is required for downside. So currently it is just breaking the structure, breaking the pattern. Pattern is quite similar like silver, but silver is far away from that trend line. Alright, so we'll see the goal at the previous low. Yeah, so our meeting time is 5 o'clock UK time, 5 p.m. Yeah, so only members have the access to this meeting. So we hold daily meetings, yeah, 10 a.m. London time, but only members have the access for that meetings, daily, weekly, daily meetings. Only members have the access. But Sunday meeting, we share this meeting or the YouTube for followers, and you have to be here on 5 p.m. my time. All right, Chris. Thank you very much, fellows, for being with me. No question. Enjoy your Sunday. So we're anticipating that market gonna open with gap today. Yeah. So if price market open with gap, short-term trades are gonna be over there, but you have to be careful. Yeah, volatility is expected if gaps come over there. So you have to be careful on euro pairs. All right. So I hope you are not into the euro trades. Thank you very much, fellows. Enjoy your Sunday. See you back into the group. Yeah, so those fellows who are not participating, fellows, put your chart into the group. Yeah, post your chart into the group so that you can ask the experienced guys how they read the market. Yeah, ask the read, ask the experienced guys how they read. They're gonna help you. Those friends who are new, those who joined us just recently. So ask the experienced guys. Yeah. So try to be respectful to others. Give some respect to them, and they're gonna give you knowledge. They're gonna tell you how to read the market. Yeah. So try to share. So those who are new, you have to do a lot of work, fellows. You have to share your chart so that you can learn quickly. All right. But thank you very much, fellows, for being with me. Enjoy your Sunday. See you back into the group. A good night for now. Yeah. Bye.